welcome to Eat Right by George, the healthy cooking show that shows you healthy can be delicious. And on today's show, I'll be showing you how to make a healthy version of beef meatballs and fresh garden salsa right from your garden. You're going to love it because we're going to do a couple different things today. And for our healthy version of beef meatballs, I'll be using sirloin, which is 90% lean meat and only 10% fat. So sirloin is one of the better cuts of meat to use when you're making meatballs. And the herbs we'll be using for the meatballs are mint, fresh mint right from my garden personally, and fresh dill. So we're going to need about 2 tablespoons of each. And it's always much better to use fresh mint and dill, as you can see. And I also have some fresh basil, which I'm going to be using for the garden salsa. So it's going to be a really exciting show today. You're going to enjoy this. Also for the meatballs, I'll be using 2 eggs and 2 pieces of bread, which I wet. This is going to help to keep the meatballs together in order for them to have a better consistency and texture. So I wet 2 pieces of wheat bread ahead of time, which is I'm going to be adding to our meatballs. Also 1 small onion, which I'm going to mince. And we're also going to need a grill. I'm using a little grill here, electric grill, because we don't want to fry things. So one of the things that a lot of people do is they fry meatballs, and what happens there is that the meat absorbs all the grease and fat, and then it's not so healthy. So first thing I want to do is get my onion and cut the end off and cut it in half slowly there. And that makes it easier for me to peel my onion. So as you can see, the peel comes right off. So I'm going to take my other onion. We use a lot of onions in healthy cooking because the onions help to give flavor and sweetness to our food because they kind of caramelize after they're under heat. And I'm also going to show you a couple secret ingredients that I'm going to be using in our meatballs, which you're going to be surprised about. I'm saving those a little bit later once we start cooking them. So first thing you want to do is put a couple little scores in your onion. Then just chop it up. Same thing once again. I follow the lines here. Love cooking with onions. Whenever I'm cooking with meat, it seems like I always have onion as part of the ingredients. So I only cut until I get to the root of the onion. After that I just save for when I'm making chicken stock. I save the onions for flavor. I save the little ends for flavor. And I give it a little chop again so that they're minced. But you don't want to overly chop your onions because they can turn bitter on you. So you don't want to chop your onions too much. So I'm going to add the small onion to my bowl. And what I have here, of course, is a pound of sirloin, ground sirloin. Next thing I want to add to this is a little chopped mint. So I take my mint leaves, take them off the stem, and I just love mint. And some dill. So with the dill, I just take it right off the stem. And you can actually chop them right together because the mint and dill complement each other. Have a little bit more left there. Put that aside. And kind of just make it like into a little bunch. And the reason I take the stems off is that I want it to be a little bit smoother. The stems kind of make it crunchy, so I don't want to do that. You want to chop your herbs very fine. And these are what are going to give the meatballs more flavor, so they're not so bland. A lot of times you taste a meatball and it's kind of bland. And that's because they haven't added any fresh herbs. Nothing can beat the flavor of fresh herbs. So I take and add those to my sirloin. And next I'm going to add 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs. Well, sometimes it's harder to crack on plastic. There you go. 2 eggs. And then I'm going to add 2 slices of whole wheat bread, which I wet with, just put it under sink and with a little bit of water. And I'm going to crumble that. And put that into our meat. And as I promised, my secret ingredient, I'm going to add a tablespoon of ouzo. Some Greek ouzo liquor, which is has a flavor of anise seed. So about a tablespoon. Don't forget to say opa. Opa. And you can also add salt and pepper, but if you're worried about sodium intake, you really don't even need to add any of that. And I take and just mash this together and knead it. As you can see, you want to get all the herbs in there evenly. And I've already preheated my grill ahead of time here. And once everything is combined together, the eggs, the sirloin, the mint, dill, your bread, you can start rolling them into little round meatballs, which we're going to dip into our fresh salsa. So as you can see, I make a nice round meatball, put it onto my grill. It's been preheated. And let those cook. You can make bigger ones, smaller ones. Just pack them like this. You can also use an ice cream scoop if you want them to be more uniform. Well, they're really cooking now already. I'm going to put about 6 to start off with. You can make them tiny or big. It's up to your preference. So I'll let those cook and put the meat aside. Kind of clean my hands here for a second. And while those are cooking, I'll start making our fresh garden salsa. We don't want to waste any time. Now, for the fresh garden salsa, what I'll be doing is I'm going to take aluminum foil and actually put the different ingredients in aluminum foil and bake it in the oven. So for fresh garden salsa, I'm going to use a red pepper. So cut the top off. Clean out the inside. And then cut it in half. Put this aside. You want to also take a couple cloves of garlic and get the peel off. I just hit them with the side of my knife. Gets the peel right off. Chop those in half. Make sure to get the corner off, which is the root. You don't want that in there. So using a couple cloves of garlic, 1 red pepper. You can also use the corner of it. You don't want to waste that. Then I'm going to take a couple tomatoes. I'm using vine-ripe tomatoes because they have a lot more flavor because they're not taken off the vine prematurely. A lot of times tomatoes are taken off the vine when they're green and they don't develop the flavor and they don't get all the vitamins that are necessary. And tomatoes, of course, have vitamin A, vitamin C, and your salsa, your red peppers, have quite a bit of vitamin C as well. So what I do is chop them in half, then in quarters. Once again, I got the core out. So what I do is just put them here. You can see I take aluminum foil and put everything in here and let it bake in the oven. Okay. I may want to add an onion as well. So let me get an onion also. Gotta have the onions when you're cooking and making salsa. Once again, I cut it in half. Take the peel off. So you need a red pepper. You need 2 tomatoes. You need 1 onion. And the nice thing about it is you don't have to worry about chopping it any particular way. You can just do kind of a rough chop. Just make sure to cut the ends off. You don't want those in there. You can also add a green pepper if you like. So I'm having in here in the aluminum foil my onion, tomato, pepper. You can also add a green pepper if you like. Garlic, tomato. I'm going to wrap them in the aluminum foil and bake them in the oven for 350 for about ½ hour so the vegetables get soft. And as those get soft, what I'm going to do afterwards is I'm going to use a little food processor. And in the food processor, I'm going to add those soft vegetables that I cooked along with a can of tomato paste, a dash of hot sauce. I'm using Frank's hot sauce. And what else? Oh, and of course some fresh basil will also go into our salsa. So it's going to be so delicious. Okay, while those are baking in the oven, I'm going to turn my meatballs here using my tongue. Get those cooking nice and soft. Oh, they're going to be so delicious, as you can see. And what I like about the grill is it puts those nice little black marks in there. You can also close it for a couple seconds here to get it nice and hot, get all the red juice out of there. So we're making some sirloin meatballs. As I mentioned before, 90% lean, 10% fat. So a lot of people many times ask me, what is the best kind of meat to use when I'm cooking that would be a lot healthier for me? I would say sirloin because it's so lean, and I would avoid some of the other cuts when I'm making meatballs because they might have too much fat in them. So I want to use something that's leaner and better. Now, if you can't get sirloin, other choices I would recommend are ground chicken, ground turkey. You can also use lamb, ground lamb for this recipe. It depends on your taste. You can also combine them. You can take chicken and turkey and combine them half and half, like a half pound of ground chicken and a half pound of ground turkey as well. And then you can still add all the herbs if you like. Really, it's, you know, they're very flexible. Mint and dill are my favorites to use. Well, they're really cooking now. I like to rotate them. I wish you could smell all the beautiful flavors that are in the meatballs, such as the mint and dill, and the aroma is just incredible. And of course I added a little bit of ouzo, which also is wonderful because ouzo is very aromatic. I use it a lot of times in baking. When I'm baking different kinds of cookies and breads, it's a substitute for vanilla many times. Okay, while these are cooking, I'm going to take our vegetables out of the oven, which have been in there for about a half hour. And give you kind of an idea what they look like. Now that they've been out of the oven, had a chance, see, you'll notice how much softer they are. They have a lot of juice in them too. So I'll take these and put them in my food processor. I have a little mini food processor here. It's wonderful. What I'll do is add some of these peppers, a couple tomatoes in here. Things that have been cooking. My garlic, you can't forget about your garlic. They're nice and soft. And I have my tomato paste. Tomato paste is kind of what gives it body, because the other things are going to give it, of course, the flavor, but the tomato paste kind of gives it more body. Oh, gotta put it on the other way, I believe. Let's see here. And it's plugged in. I'm having a little problem here, Houston. Maybe because I got too many things in there. Oh, we got a little problem with our food processor here. Let's see if I can get this rolling. I might have overloaded it a little bit. It was working earlier. Oops. Oh, maybe I'll put it this way. Oh, I got it. Yay. Oh, it's going to be so good. I can already tell. And now that we've the rest of my ingredients slowly, nothing like fresh salsa.